Hey, well, good morning and welcome to another daily devotional. Today we are in First Samuel chapter 6. First Samuel chapter 6. We've been talking about the Ark of the Covenant and some different things that have been happening with it. Yesterday we talked about how the Ark of the Covenant was captured by the Philistines, and then they had it in the temple with Dagon, and their idol had to bow down to it. All this crazy stuff that was happening yesterday. And now today, where the story continues, and so yesterday, after even the false god had to continually bow down to God's presence, we now come to the beginning of chapter 6 where the Philistines are like, man, this is crazy. What is going on? We need to get rid of this whole Ark of the Covenant thing. So they had this big ark. It was a big, if you look up pictures of it, it's kind of a big thing built out of acacia wood, all this stuff that's really fancy. It had all these ornate things on it and stuff. But it inside carried, the Ten Commandments and different things inside of it. And they said, okay, we need to send this back to back to Israel. We need to get rid of this thing. So one of the things that they say is we need to give some sort of guilt offering to their God, to God. We need to give something to him so that he is pleased with us. So inside of the ark, they make some gold. They fashion out of gold some tumors because God had afflicted them when they were holding on to this ark. When they had stolen the ark, God had afflicted the whole Philistine people with tumors. So they said, how awesome would it be? Let's get gold and form it into tumors and put that into the ark. I don't even know what a tumor would look like out of gold, but hey, they did that. They took it. Maybe it's just a big ball of gold, and hey, there's a tumor. So they put that in there, and then they said, okay, let's also make one for all of our leaders and put that in there. Kind of an interesting idea. And they said, those are going to be rats. So they make 5 golden rats, and they put those into the Ark of the Covenant. And then they say, okay, and what are we going to do with this? All right, well, let's go ahead and strap it. And they have these super specific requirements for these cows that they say, okay, we're going to strap the Ark of the Covenant to these cows, and we're going to send them straight on into Israelite country. So then they send these cows down with the Ark of the Covenant. They get all the way down. They get into Israelite country, and a man named Joshua stops it. And all of a sudden, they break off all of the wood that is on the exterior covering the Ark of the Covenant. There's kind of like a trailer that is holding the Ark. They tear it all off and have a fire with it. And then they realize, oh my goodness, we have the Ark back. They begin to do some sacrifices, all these different things to it. And then the presence of God then is so powerful with the people that it says this, but the Lord killed 70 men from Beth Shemesh. This was the city that received the Ark of the Covenant, because they looked into the Ark of the Lord, and the people mourned greatly because of what the Lord had done. And then this is what the people said: who is able to stand in the presence of the Lord, this holy God? They cried. Where can we send the ark from here? And so basically what happens from this whole last chapter we're reading is people begin to just continually send the Ark of the Covenant to different people. Because when the ark comes, they say, oh my goodness, we cannot even be in the presence of God. Let's send it somewhere else because we're not even capable to be around it. So they literally are just sending the ark other places. This is for you, this is for you, this is for you, not for me. We can't even take the presence of God. And luckily for us in our day and age, we have Jesus Christ, who came and became the person that is in between the two of us, a mediator. The book of Hebrews calls him the one that is between us and God, that makes it possible for us to be in the presence of God. But just how these people, when the presence of God came, it was like, wow, how does this happen? For them, they instantly were struck down. And for us in our day and age, now that we have Jesus, our mediator, and the veil was torn in the temple, that's a whole nother discussion. But the presence of the God does not cause instantaneous death like it used to, but instead it does cause some things that make us want to run away from the presence of God, or kind of push it away, say that's not something I want. So instead of, for their day and age, the presence of God, if there was sin, it would strike you dead. Kind of crazy, right? That's why people still make jokes. Even this last Sunday, I was joking around with one of the ushers, and he said, "Hey, you're lucky you're saying that outside, because if you were inside, God would strike you as of this moment," because we were making jokes about Seahawks or something. And it was just that idea of, wow, God will strike you right where you're at. That's what it was in the Old Testament. But now what happens when we step into the presence of God with any sort of sin or unrighteousness in our heart or anything like that, we experience something called guilt. We experience something, this conviction that says, wow, I need to change. Something needs to change in my life. And so the temptation is we can be just like they were in the Old Testament and try and push that off, when God instead is saying, no, I want you to hold on to this thing that I'm giving you, this guilt, this shame, whatever it is that comes when we step into the presence of God, because that is God giving us an opportunity to change. Many times when we come to the presence of God, there's this feeling we have that we get scared of, and we say, I don't want this, I'm just going to run away from God. But instead, what he is saying today is, no. When you come into my presence, don't be scared. Don't be, man, you feel this guilt. Don't feel like, oh, well, I don't want that, I'm going to run away. Instead, be like, okay, God, you're just showing me an area that I need to work on. And it's one of those things we just need to learn to come to grips with in our Christian walk. With whenever we come into the presence of God, he's going to reveal to us things we need to work on. And instead of being the kind of people like the Israelites, send this off to someone else, this is not for me, we need to say, no. Okay, we need to get right with God so that his presence can be in my home, so his presence can be in my marriage, so his presence can be in my personal life, that I'm going to change whatever I need to do so when God's presence is here, I am holy as he is holy, as the New Testament calls us to be, that I'm going to be like God, that the presence of God may pull out guilt in your life of things you need to change, but that's not something to push away. It's something to say, okay, God, you're growing something in me. So it's okay that when you come into church sometimes that there's that feeling of, wow, the presence of God is causing me to want to get better. That's a great thing to have the guilt of God, because that is his way of saying, hey, you need to work on this, you need to work on that. That is God still growing us. So don't run away from the presence of God if at times it pulls things to the surface that are kind of nasty from deep inside of your heart. It's okay. God is just trying to make you into a better person today. So today, pray to God and say, I want more of your presence in my life. Show me anything that I need to work on today, God. I don't want to run from your presence or push it off to someone else. God, I want what you have for me today. So I pray that today you are encouraged, that God is with you. He is growing you to be a better person, and we hope to see you tomorrow.